Hello, and welcome to the show, Writing in the Tiny House. I am on a mission to abolish the idea of the tormented artist by sharing what I know about writing, publishing, and just life in general, so that you can have the tools to produce the content that you have been eager to write. If you have the steps in place, you can produce a short story in as few as 3 months, or a novel in as few as 18 months. And hopefully, through the ideas in this podcast, you will have the wisdom to adjust that timeline if you need to. I am Devin Davis, the guy who lives and writes in a tiny house in northern Utah. Thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy today's episode of Writing in the Tiny House. Hello and welcome to today's episode. Welcome to Writing in the Tiny House. Today's episode is a bit of a different thing. It's kind of an experiment. Every now and again with TV shows, you get clip shows. I don't know if you remember old sitcoms where sometimes you would get an episode that was just clips of previous episodes. This is not that. This is clips of little recordings that I made throughout my process of finishing the rough draft of Tis. So it's still kind of a clip episode. So be sure to let me know what you think of it. Send me a note on all of my social media just to let me know. And otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy today's episode. Our adventure begins clear back in May. Hey guys, this is kind of the first day a little bit. So in doing this little journey of taking you through the writing process of the first draft of Tis, I am going to have to do things a little bit differently. A lot of these clips are going to be recorded on my cell phone just because they are recorded in the moment. So with this first draft, just a little bit of background on this thing. I started the first draft a while ago, and I only have a few pages done. It's a good start though, and I realized that I needed to sit down and get an outline finished. So my editor, Chrissy Barton, we got on the phone together and we decided to have this thing finished and ready to her. She has an opening in her schedule on July 15th. So because Chrissy mainly does copy edits and line edits, it means that I get to do the first draft and the first round of developmental edits by July 15th, which is a lot. That's in 2 months. That gives me 8 weeks to get this finished, to get it to that point, and we'll see how it goes. With my outline, I sat down to do the outline, and I had every intention of sending my outline to one of my very favorite developmental editors. Her name is Crystal. She is kind of my own little resource. She is wonderful with developmental edits, but she is not in the profession of developmental editing. Anyway, she is super fun to bounce ideas off of. She always has great insight on how to improve this or that situation. The developmental edit is great with her, and it is entirely possible to get some feedback on an outline so that you can see if you're headed in the right direction. And I was going to do that with this outline. I was going to get the outline ready and then kind of have a brainstorming session with Crystal, but I came to just understand that the brainstorming session, the outline is in a way right now where I simply just need to get started on the short story. It's likely going to be another novelette, maybe even a novella. It just depends on how it goes. But I realized that I didn't really need a developmental edit on my outline. That the feedback would largely just be, you know what, go for it and we'll see how it goes. So with that in mind, I got my outline completed last night, and I sat down and had a little private planning meeting today, and we're going to get started again on drafting tomorrow. So I drafted a little bit this past weekend, and we're going to get a little bit more done tomorrow. So going back to this planning meeting, everybody out there, everybody who listens to this podcast who has children, especially if you're a single parent or whatever. I am a person with a million different hobbies, and I have been looking over my schedule, and there are some things that are going to be hard to squeeze in all of the drafting. Writing is not the only thing that I do. So because I like to do a million different things, and because at this time in my life, mental health and wellness is a really big thing, I signed up for a teaching certificate. So it's a class that is like 20-ish weeks long in Ayurveda, which is the practice of many different things, including meditation and mindfulness and a couple other things that are really important to me. And I start that class Wednesday. And so, the commitment to that class, it is online, and they say that it's about an hour a day. It's been my experience that online courses like this, for me, take less time than that. And so I'm just going to have to see how it goes. In addition, I think I announced at one point in time that I upgraded my workspace. I have been working off of a laptop that has been set up on my desk, and it has been that way for a few years. I have not used my laptop as a laptop in a long time. So I upgraded and I got an iMac, which is a desktop, and the entire space feels different. It is easier to get into a more creative zone, which I love. But this upcoming weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and I am going out of town. I am going to my family's cabin, which is in the mountains in southern Utah, and I can't bring the iMac. And so we are going to see, I am going to give it a good college try to draft on my phone. I have not ever successfully drafted a short story or part of a short story on my phone before. Doing that type of typing, that more involved typing, is more challenging when I'm typing with just my thumbs. I don't know, and a tiny screen, it's not my favorite thing. But I don't have another option. I don't have a laptop anymore. And so we'll see how many pages or words or whatever actually happens this upcoming weekend when I am out of town trying to draft on my phone. Or I may simply have to take a couple days off from the manuscript and work on something else, just because I'm not going to have a computer, and that really frustrates me. Hey guys, it is the night before Memorial Day. It is May 29th, and I am actually on vacation in the middle of the mountains at my parents' cabin with the rest of my family. I've been listening to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. She is the woman who wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love, and it has completely transformed my relationship with my work in progress, and I highly recommend that you read it too. The whole point of Big Magic is to get rid of the tormented artist. Just because we don't have to hate writing. We don't have to struggle through our work in progress. It is hard work. There are always problems, there are always hard things to do, but the energy behind this is a really big, impossible project that will likely lead nowhere, blah, blah, blah. We can do away with that. And I think that is going to be the new mission of my podcast as well. But one of the fun things that she suggests is to treat your work in progress like a love affair. And I was thinking like being able to sneak off and to have these beautiful, heartfelt, intimate moments with your work in progress, with your story, with the characters in the story, and to make progress with it that way, in that energy. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, if my work in progress were a person that I was communicating with on the dating apps, because that's where I am in my life right now, how would it be to steal away for a minute or two in the middle of the day and chit chat with this person? Or in the event of my work in progress, just write a little paragraph or two and love it and know that I'm kind of doing something a little bit forbidden and just stealing those little moments away and having them all to myself. And so I have been doing that this weekend, and it has been so fun. It has been such a fun approach to writing, and I've been doing the writing on my phone. And so, I mean, having a keyboard and a big screen in front of me is certainly more ideal, but I can pull up a note on my phone just because right now I'm on the first draft. I know where I am in the story. It is okay to pull up a note and to just kind of start where I know I am and to just type with my thumbs. It's not ideal, but it works. To type for just a minute or two, to get a few paragraphs down, and then go, roast a marshmallow by the fire or whatever we're doing with my family. Go help with lunch, go outside, go for a walk, whatever. And then come back and have just a couple more paragraphs ready to type with my thumbs. It has been such a fun way to draft, and I highly recommend it.
So today is June 15th, and I came to a very scary realization. I have been doing a blend of dictating and writing, mostly dictating recently with Tiz, and I came to find out that I can dictate about 4 times as many words in the same amount of time that I can write it. Now, I'm not going to pretend that this is really good first drafting. I understand that this is going to be a train wreck of a first draft, but the thing is, guys, it's going to be a first draft, and then I can start editing. There is a really big difference in mental requirements between what you need to do with your first draft and editing. So with the first draft, it is definitely quantity over quality, especially right now, and dictating is rough. There is going to be a lot of cleanup, and so whatever time that I'm saving by being able to dictate 4 times faster than I can write, I am definitely going to use all of that time in cleaning up this rough draft. But this is a cool thing to understand because you can edit a rough draft. You can't edit a blank page. And so to have a rough draft done, even if it is a garbage fire, is exciting to me, especially if I can get there a little bit faster through dictation. So this is a big experiment, and we're going to see if dictation really is going to solve the problem, or if it's just going to be another tool that I can use to pull out when I'm stuck, or when I'm in a bind, or when I don't have time to draft. And so we'll see. I know that this is going to be a lot of work, but it's a lot of work anyway, and so it's coming along. And to dictate the rough draft, almost the entire rough draft of a short story is kind of nuts, friends.
Well, it is Monday, June 20th, and I'm sitting here alone in the tiny house, and I finished the first draft of Tiz, the next installment of Tales from Blador. And so, a few different feelings. I am relieved. I am excited to see this thing progress. This has kind of been a minute. I stalled out with writing a few months ago, and so it's been good to get back into the swing of things. Also, I have looked over this dictated rough draft, and I am so excited to dictate. Like I might have said in previous episodes of this podcast, it is editing that brings out the magic in writing for me a lot more than drafting does. But I've looked over this draft, and it needs a lot of help. But that's what the next steps are for. So I am excited to clean this up, and I am excited to add in and fix the plot holes that I already know exist. I finished this rough draft of Tiz, and I am so excited to move on to editing. So the rough draft of Tiz is now complete, and I am moving on to developmental edits. If you enjoyed a show like this, please let me know by contacting me through any of my social media. And otherwise, I can bring you guys through the journey of developmental edits as well. It's a different process, and it's something that is kind of fun to bring some insight to. So thank you for listening to this program, and have fun writing. And that is it for today. Just a reminder that Brigitte, installment 1 of Tales from Vlador, is available on Amazon as an ebook and on Audible and Apple Books as an audiobook. And I provide advance reader copies of these short stories as I release them to my patrons. So become a patron today by visiting patreon.com/writinginthetinyhouse to support both my writing and this podcast. And lastly, be sure to follow me on social media. My Instagram is @AuthorDevinDavis, and my Twitter handle is @AuthorDevinD. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and have fun writing. We will see you next time. Run by copy editor Chrissy Barton, Little Syllables Editing is a reliable resource for anyone looking to improve their manuscript. Chrissy does line edits, copy edits, and the final proofread for experienced writers and newbies alike. Go to littlesyllables.com and reach out to Chrissy today. A link is in the show notes.